President Trump has officially announced his bid for re-election. The move on Tuesday came just 13 months after the president's inauguration. This makes President Trump the earliest sitting president to start a re-election campaign. During his announcement, the president also unexpectedly named his 2016 digital media chief, John Pascal, as his campaign manager. Here to discuss Trump's re-election bid and the role Pascal might play in the 2020 campaign are Talking Points analysts Michael Furnari and Sabrina Maggiore. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thanks for having us. My pleasure.
This is certainly unprecedented, but is it surprising?
I don't think it's particularly surprising, Josh, because as we know, Donald Trump did submit his papers to the FEC for re-election, or to at least run for re-election on Inauguration Day. Now, you mentioned that it's unprecedented, which is technically true, but it's been a broader trend over the last 20 or 25 years that presidents are declaring for re-election much earlier than they have previously. So it is unprecedented, but it's probably part of a larger trend.
I think maybe it's like a sign from Trump that, he's sticking around, he's all, all in on the presidency.
A show of confidence at a time where morale
Absolutely.
is down.
Sabrina, what sort of role did Pascal play in the 2016 election?
Sure. So he was digital media manager, and what that essentially means was that he was responsible for allocating funds for media in general. In terms of digital media, he focused in on campaign advertisements, and he also allocated funds towards traditional media. But more specifically, his role within that campaign was really focusing in on Facebook and micro-targeting. And what that meant was that he allocated a lot of money to essentially focusing in on swing voters and attracting swing voters to the Trump campaign. And he reallocated a lot of funds to Wisconsin and Michigan, which ultimately proved to be a winning strategy for him.
Well, honestly, the way things have been going in the Trump White House, I wouldn't be surprised if, Mr. Pascal does not make it that far into the 2020 election.
That and the fact that there is continued scrutiny, him focusing on Facebook and being a digital media manager for the campaign obviously opens him up to scrutiny when it comes to the ongoing discussions related to Russia. So where does he kind of fit into this investigation?
There's a lot to really dissect there. One thing that we have to note is that he hired the firm Cambridge Analytica. And what that means is that Cambridge Analytica is being investigated for its ties to WikiLeaks, which then has ties to Russia. He testified before the House Intelligence and Senate committee, and he's being investigated for that specifically.
And Michael, obviously with President Trump announcing so early, do you think that's going to encourage his challengers to also announce earlier than they normally would?
I think one of the reasons for Trump making this move so early is I think he's trying to tie the Republican establishment to him earlier rather than later. I think if he had maybe had more cold feet about this and had waited longer, I think you could have seen more momentum come behind a John Kasich or one of those primary challengers. So I think he's doing this to try to cut it off before it starts.
Absolutely, a twofold approach where he's declaring early to tie people into him, but he's also doing it to boost morale in the immediate, something that is kind of politically smart, I guess you could say.
And he's also eyeing the midterm elections right now. That's something that he said is exactly. He's looking for 2018, and he's trying to use, particularly Pascal's appointment right now, is eyeing that in the future and trying to get Republicans elected to those seats.
Absolutely. All right, Sabrina, Michael, thanks so much for joining us. Coming up, we'll discuss Sunday's upcoming elections in Italy. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Don't go away.